if you've ever been in a relationship before, perhaps you can relate to this story. I was visiting a certain fine young man who was wanting to impress a certain fine young woman. And so that meant homemade dessert after dinner. Knowing that I was a connoisseur and had distinct taste buds, he decided to opt for pistachio pudding. Wanting to be helpful but not critical, I looked at the small portion of pudding and I said, "Are you sure you put enough milk in there?" He looked at me. Milk? I looked at him. There's only 2 ingredients in pudding, milk and pudding mix. How can you mess that up? He quickly grabbed the box and read it and he said, "See, add 2 cups of milk." Oops. Quite abashed that of not winning over the heart of with his culinary skills of this certain fine young woman, this certain fine young man did have the main ingredient right. All you need is a little love. Fellow Toastmasters, honored area director, and guests, from time to time you may find yourself in the kitchen, either making a 4-course meal fit for a palace or pulling back the lid of a microwave dinner. What I would like to do is give you some tips from my kitchen to yours so that you do not have to experience my version of cooking and other disasters. You see, I did end up marrying that fine young man. Unfortunately, his cooking repertoire included and was limited to frozen waffles, grilled cheese, frozen pizza. As you can imagine, wanting to send him to the grocery store to find a few more sophisticated items could be a grand adventure. And that happened one night when we invited guests over to our house, and I decided to make a stir fry. I had everything I needed except for 2 ingredients. So off he went to the grocery store with his list. The first item, water chestnuts. Where on earth do you find water chestnuts? Are they fresh vegetables in the produce aisle? Are they canned vegetables in the canned food aisle? Or are they a nut of some kind in who knows what aisle? Up and down the aisles he searched, in vain. Finally he did what no man likes to do. He asked for directions. And finding the water chestnuts in the ethnic food aisle, he then returned to the list to tackle ingredient number 2, snow peas. Now, I will have you know that this certain fine young man has incredible deductive reasoning. He had no idea what a snow pea was, but he determined that it must be a vegetable because of the pea part. So back to the produce aisle he went, searching for this elusive snow pea. I mean, how hard can it be to find a bright white pea? You know, snow pea, snow, white as snow. Mercifully, a colleague of his saw him wandering around, and once she understood that he was looking for snow peas, she guided him over to this funny-looking flat bean thing, but then she decided to educate him on how to select the perfect snow pea by feeling each one for firmness to maximize the crispiness. So a quick trip to the grocery store turned into an hour-long ordeal that was seared into his mind after all these years. My advice, Google it and take a picture. Lest you think that all the disasters happened to this certain fine young man, I will ease your anxious minds and let you know that this certain fine young woman had her share of disastrous occurrences. There was the time I was cooking my first Thanksgiving turkey, and I turned around to say something to my sister-in-law, and that baster exploded hot turkey juices all down her blouse. I was horrified and embarrassed at my terrible hostessing skills and not being the master of my own kitchen. More recently, I came across a sneaky, really interesting idea from a cookbook called Deceptively Delicious, in which they put pureed vegetables into almost everything. Your brownies, your pancakes, your cookies. I thought this was wonderful. I found an interesting recipe that called for half a cup of sweet potato puree to mix in with the cheddar cheese of the classic grilled cheese sandwich. While I was mixing it together, I was a little concerned at the distinctly radioactive shade of orange. But putting the health of my family before my own, I made up the grilled cheese sandwiches and told the kids that they could be generous with the ketchup as I piled on these grilled cheese sandwiches and put the plates in front of them. The kids were suspicious right away, pushed the plates away, but my husband had already taken a bite, and he dutifully smiled as he chewed and swallowed and begged me never to make them again. My advice to you, don't mess with classic dish. Even if you avoid certain disasters in your kitchen, you can always use, even if you don't avoid certain disasters in your kitchen, you can always use the phrase that my mother used when she covered up her blunders. She would say, "Burnt makes you sing better." Now, I cannot attest to the truth of this statement because I've had my fair share of burnt bits and I really can't sing at all. So I wanted to leave you with my piece of advice, a little slice of it. And it is a recipe for happiness. 2 heaping cups of patience, 1 heart full of love, 2 handfuls of generosity, plenty of faith, a handful of understanding, dash of laughter, generous sprinkling of kindness. Combine the patience, love, and generosity with understanding. Add a dash of laughter and sprinkle generously with kindness. Add plenty of faith and mix well. Spread over a lifetime and serve to everyone you meet.